So my friend today has some questions for me. Now, these questions are derived from this book and further research online. It is the book Drawing Down the Spirits by Kenaz Phelan and Raven Kaldira. Raven Kaldira is a great northern shaman practitioner, and he's a great inspiration to me. A lot of his gnosis is something that I have either learned or kind of learned to accept as I've understood it. Now, Kenaz Phelan is a very knowledgeable and skilled Vodalissant practitioner of Vodou. So they basically collaborated in this book and another book called Talking to the Spirits. But I actually didn't know about this book till I bought it at a used bookstore, and I haven't really read it yet. But my friend here has derived some questions from it for me on the different topics. I'm going to see if I can answer these questions. So my friend, go ahead and ask me these questions.
Okay, it asks, who was created in the past?
Who was what?
Who was created in the past?
Who was created?
Yes, like...
Ooh, okay. Who was created?
Is there any certain order?
Okay, so I think that... I wouldn't say that there's an order in the sense that the beings that were first created are necessarily better. I would say that the first beings that were created, everybody was kind of created at once as God became the universe, as Hindus believe. But the first beings are the ones who really figured everything out very early on, who became gods first, who became spirits first, because they figured everything out, because they had a role to perform. And the rest of us behind them we were still, when they were gods, and they probably moved on to complete unification with the source. When they were gods or spirits, or very powerful spirits, and we were probably minerals, plants, animals, things like that. So I think that everybody was created at once. I'm not really sure how the book talks about it, but I think everybody was created at once, but there are certain beings that were better at it, better at understanding and being at the beginning. So go ahead and ask the next question.
So what is the spirit world like?
The spirit world. The spirit world is there's a lot of different so-called spirit worlds. Now, I think of these things as different dimensions, not necessarily a world that is in this universe with us, and most certainly not in this galaxy. But the spirit world are different phases of reality. So the spirit world is often understood as the astral. So we have the negative side of the astral realm and the much larger positive side of the astral realm. So the smaller side of the astral realm, the more negative side, more confined side, are those beings who are completely self-consumed. They are completely looking out for themselves. And they are only inspired by fear. They are only inspired by a desire for power. That's the smaller side, the more confined side of the astral realm. The larger side are the beings who are on their way to higher consciousness, getting towards the causal realm. And now we spend a lot of time in the astral realm, the positive side of the astral realm. Sometimes we spend a lot of time in the negative side of the astral realm. But like I said in another video, it's like the difference between a bathroom on a bus and the rest of the bus. So the bathrooms on the buses are like the negative parts of the astral realms, and then the rest of the bus is the positive side. There's a lot of different dimensions associated with the astral realm, or part of the astral realm. But a lot of the time when people are referring, like in this book, are referring to spirits or the dead, it is in regards to those beings who have passed and gone to the realm of the dead. Now, the realm of the dead is, there's many realms of the dead, but the realm of the dead is that place where souls might spend for a time, and egos definitely exist, separate from spirits, separate from soul, and they also exist here. But there's also spirits and souls there as well. So the realm of the dead, and this is kind of what I think the book is talking about, the realms of the dead, they can go from very, very dark, very morbid, kind of the shadow of this realm. Many similar buildings, many similar beings, but everything's really shadowed. Everything's really difficult to figure out where things are. It's difficult to figure out who you are, where you are, and what you're about, how you've gotten there. And then there's other sides of the realms of the dead that are really just conglomerations of spirits who just communicate, who exist together, and who want to speak to the living And a lot of those realms that, the realms of the dead are not, it's not all bad. A lot of the realms of the dead that are good, or the sides of those realms of the dead that are good or positive. Everything's just very ethereal. Everything's non-corporeal. But you still see the outlines of things. You still see the outlines of beings. People still talk, but it's like everybody's an echo. And it's just it's not a shadowy, but a wispy realm, the positive side of the realm of the dead. And there's still activities that go on there, like that go on here as far as parties, communities, things like that, but everything's very non-corporeal. I think that's all I have to say about that right now, so go ahead to your next question.
So how are we connected to the spirit world, or is it something that we fall into, the frequency?
I think that we are connected to the spirit world always. We just have to strengthen that connection. So when you're trying to communicate with the dead or spirits that are in the spirit world, which is, I think this book is talking about the realms of the dead, and I think it's referring to the positive sides, where everything's non-corporeal, everything's really, time doesn't really exist. I didn't mention that. It's all about things happening and one thing after another. And then that's how time passes. It's not like if we do nothing here and time passes. It's only events make time pass. I think that we always have that connection to the spirit world within us. There's always that bridge within us that we connect to spirits through. But the only way for that connection to be strengthened is if you reach out to a certain realm. And this is, I'm sure it's talking about realms of the dead in this, but no matter what realm it is, if you reach out, if you try to contact beings there, if you try to offer to beings there, if you try to work with beings there through different either offerings or scrying, or I'm just getting close through meditation, what have you, I've gone into practices in other videos, then that's how you connect to certain realms. And really, we are of very similar essences. We are soul, spirit, and ego, and then of course body, which stays here. Just the same as those people have passed or those people who have moved on to the spirit realm. So we always have that connection. So what's your next question?
Talk about deity assumption.
Deity assumption. Okay, so a lot of the time we assume that a deity will manifest physically. I've read the book, but I think that it's referring to that we assume deities or spirits will manifest physically when they usually don't. It's not because they can't all the time. It's because they will not transfer or use their energy to do so, or even be visual or auditory, unless somebody is very close to connecting to their particular energy. So we cannot assume that if something doesn't manifest completely in a physical form that we see, that it doesn't exist. Even if it's in a wispy kind of ghost form, that's still a very big step. We can't assume that, we can't demand of spirits and gods that they manifest before us. Even if we do one ritual or two rituals or three rituals, a lot of time it takes many years to manifest them physically. And we also can't assume that we're actually contacting who we want to contact. Because a lot of the time, there's other beings who act like they're the being that we're contacting when it's actually not that being. So we shouldn't assume too much, but we should continue to try to experiment, understand, and try to become familiar with the energies that we want to work with. So you have another question?
Nope, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. All right, so this has been a video about really about some aspects in this book, Drawing Down the Spirits by Kenaz Falan and Raven Caldera. And it's called The Traditions and Techniques of Spirit Possession. One thing I'd like to say about this book, when it talks about possession, it's talking about connecting with spirits to such a degree that they come down and manifest in your body, and then they kind of take over. But if they're a positive spirit, like I think this book is talking about, to positive spirits, then they will do actions that either they'll proclaim themselves to your spiritual community, they'll give advice, ask for offerings, things like that. If you happen to have a negative spiritual possession, they may abuse the right to be in your body, and you may have incorrectly contacted or inadvertently, by accident, contacted a different being than you wanted to. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. I hope these questions and answers have been fruitful as far as your own personal knowledge, expanding. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to shoot down in the comment section below on YouTube. I'd greatly appreciate it. I always try to get to every single comment, and hope to see all of you on the channel in the future.